You're standing in the kitchen wondering if you really need an electric slicer, or if you'll just end up with another gadget that gathers dust. You want something that actually makes the daily grind easier, that won't chew up your counter space, and that justifies the price you're putting down. The fear of splurging on a machine that looks slick but ends up being a hassle is real, especially when you've probably tried a hand crank slicer that left you with uneven deli-style cuts and a pile of wasted meat. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I spent the last week testing the VBI Milano 1898 Redline 250 electric food slicer in a few real-world scenarios. Thin-sliced turkey for a sandwich bar, uniform cheese for a charcuterie board, and even delicate vegetables for a salad. What struck me first was how the 10-inch blade handled the different textures without the wobble you often get from cheaper units. The built-in sharpener meant I didn't have to pull the slicer apart every few weeks to keep the edge biting. That alone saved me a handful of minutes a week that would otherwise be spent fiddling with a handheld stone or a separate sharpening kit. If you're someone who prepares large batches of meat, cheese, or veg on a regular basis, think a small catering side hustle, a family that loves weekly meal prep, or a home chef who likes to host brunches. This slicer slots right into the workflow. The safety guard stays firmly in place while you feed the product, and the foot pedal start-stop gives you hands-free control, which is a genuine advantage when you're juggling a tray of ingredients. I found that with a single pass, I could get paper-thin turkey slices, perfect for a club sandwich, without the ragged edges that a manual slicer usually leaves. On the flip side, if your slicing needs are occasional, maybe you only need to cut a few slices of cheese once a month, the investment might feel steep. The unit weighs a solid amount, so it's not something you'll want to pull out of storage every time you need a slice of salami. Also, the 10-inch blade, while versatile, does have a limit on the thickness of the food you can push through. I tried feeding a particularly thick slab of roast beef, and after a few passes the motor started to sound strained. In that case, a more robust commercial-grade slicer would be a better fit. One of the practical strengths I noticed was how the machine handles cleaning. The removable tray slides out, and the top can be opened without a screwdriver, making it easy to rinse off any residue from cheese or deli meats. The stainless steel surface doesn't retain odors, which is a small but noticeable benefit when you're moving from slicing mozzarella to slicing ham. The safety lock automatically disengages if the guard is lifted, which prevented any accidental startups while I was reaching for a forgotten condiment. However, the slicer isn't completely hands-off when it comes to maintenance. The built-in sharpener does a good job, but it does require you to run it through a few cycles with a sharpening stone attached after a few weeks of heavy use to keep the edge truly razor-sharp. That's a minor chore, but it's something to keep in mind if you expect a set-and-forget experience. Another nuance is the noise level. The motor hums louder than a typical countertop blender. If you have an open-plan kitchen, you'll hear it, but the sound isn't obnoxious. It's more of a steady whir that fades once you turn the unit off. The design carries a bit of heritage flair. The red line, branding, and the subtle Italian logo give it a premium look that fits nicely on a modern countertop. It's not just about aesthetics. The weight of the base actually contributes to stability, preventing the whole thing from wobbling during long slicing sessions. That stability translates into more consistent slices, which is exactly what you want when you're layering ham on a party platter or slicing cucumbers for a garnish. Who should buy this? If you're a home cook who frequently slices meats, cheeses, or vegetables for meals, parties, or a small business, the VBI Milano 1898 Redline 250 offers a blend of precision and convenience that justifies its price tag. The built-in sharpener, safety features, and easy clean design address the most common pain points people have with other electric slicers. If you're a casual user who only needs an occasional thin slice, a manual slicer, or even a good kitchen knife might be the more economical route. Who should skip it? Anyone with extremely limited counter space or a very low slicing volume will likely find the unit oversized for their needs. Also, if you need to cut very thick cuts of meat on a regular basis, you'll hit the blade's limit quickly, and you might end up looking for a heavier-duty machine. Overall, the VBI Milano 1898 Redline 250 feels like a well-thought-out piece of equipment that bridges the gap between a hobbyist manual slicer and a commercial-grade beast. The combination of a sharp,